Welcome everyone to another episode of I Work in Sport live interview. So this is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, experience, tips and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. My name is João Frigerio. Oh, I got my name wrong. How is that possible? My name is João Frigerio and I'm the founder of I Work in Sport. And I want to thank you for being here with us today. Let me know if this is the first time that you're watching, or if not, if you're coming back, and please let us know where you're watching from as well. That's great fun for us to see where people watching us are around the world. Also, if you're watching the replay, also don't be shy. Leave the comments. Let us know where you were watching from. And if you're watching live, of course, prepare for your questions and comments today. So really quickly, if you don't know, I Work in Sport. So if this is your first time coming here, we're a platform to help you boost your career in sport. So if you already want to work, if you already work in sport, or if you want to work in sport, we're here to help you either way. We organize events which connects recruiters and candidates, so with our job fair, or we also connect you with some of the best sports management programs in the world. These programs may also be a very effective way to enter the industry. In fact, we are actually organizing a new event now. Let me find it. Oh, here that is. It's the I Work in Sport Education Virtual Expo. Well, that's not new. We've done that before, but there's a new edition coming up now on the 27th of October and the 3rd of November. So if you would like to meet some of the best programs, as I said, go check it out. Go to iworkinsport/EVE, and there's going to be a link in the description as well for you to do that, or just go to iworkinsport.com and you will find it there. It's free to attend, by the way. So in addition to YouTube, where you may be watching this, or on LinkedIn, we also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. In all of them, all those places, you can find us as just I Work in Sport. Singular, right, without the S at the end. And on LinkedIn, we also have a community, a group that you can join and meet people that have things in common with you. And there we call that We Work in Sport, right? So if you're on LinkedIn, you can look for that as well. Now, let me introduce my guest today, Jan Alessie. I hope I pronounce it correctly, because that sounds French to me, but maybe not. He's director at the World Football Summit, which is a leading international event organizer with focus in the sports industry. Which, I mean, after a long time, everyone was shut down, so they did have a few events online. But now, after some events in person, there is a new World Football Summit right around the corner in just 2 weeks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his career in sport, organizing one of the biggest events for the sports, for the football industry in the world, and as well as the return of audiences to large events. Now, I will actually get Jan to join us. You know the drill, right after this. Hello, Jan. Is that Alessie? Alessie, how would I say that? Sorry?
Jan Alessie.
Alessie. Okay, I'm in Lausanne today, So I went with a French.
Actually, I probably don't know how to pronounce it myself. It's I'm actually, Jan is a very Dutch name, and Alessi is Italian origin, but originally Dutch. I'm half Dutch, half Italian. But I've never lived in Holland, and I don't speak a word of Dutch. So actually, I pronounce it the Italian way, but I probably pronounce it badly for the Dutch people.
No worries. I am also mispronouncing my name. We say it João, which whenever I say my name, people say, what? So I open it and say João and try to get people to understand. And I normally spell it as well, Joao. And there you go. Now that I'll be spending some time in Lisbon, I won't have that problem anymore. Yeah. But maybe I'll even miss it. Anyway, there's some people already joining us online. So let me just give a shout out to Amir, who's on LinkedIn. Amir, let us know where you're based, where you're watching from. Also, oh, Playnox. Hello from India. Sorry. Yash, here in Odisha, India. And Aryaman Roy, also in India. So you have a lot of people watching us in India today. And oh, someone here in Greece, Mr. Komne. And yeah, please let us know where you're watching from, and be prepared to send your questions, your comments. But Jan, let's start. Well, again, thank you for being here. I think there's a lot to talk about. You have a big event coming up in about 2 weeks' time. We're going to talk about that. But to paint a picture, let's start talking about your career. Maybe give us a summary of your career. Where did you study? How did you start working in sports?
Yeah. Please. Well, first of all, João, thank you very much for having me. Now it's a pleasure to be in this program of yours, which I've been following for a long time. And yeah, well, my background, I have a very international background, as I kind of mentioned before. I'm my father's Dutch, my mother's Italian. I was born in Rome. I lived there my first 7 years and then moved to Spain. But I was educated in a British school and did my university in London. And well, after university, I started working for an international company based in Madrid, but traveling around the world. So for the first 3-4 years of my career, I traveled all over the globe. I visited about 20 countries in 3 years now, in Africa, in the Middle East, in Latin America, a bit all over the place. And mainly it was a media.
During how long? In which time span?
Well, this was way back. My first job was in the year 2000. So I worked there until the year 2003, more or less, in that company. And basically, it was a company that sold that did special reports promoting investment opportunities in different countries. No, and these reports were published in several important and prestigious media around the globe. No, like the New York Times or the Daily Telegraph, Le Monde, etc. No? So, well, it was a very interesting job. It was a fantastic job. It allowed you, to travel the world, to meet extremely interesting people, because you got to interview them, you got to establish also commercial relationship with them. So it was a fantastic job that really allowed me to grow professionally, both in creating content and also establishing commercial relations. And after that, I started my own company, doing something similar. And in 2006, I set up a company called Nexus Fostering Partnership, which still exists, and it's the mother company for World Football Summit. And Nexus Fostering Partnership, what it did was a company that at its infancy, at the beginning, what it did was promoted commercial relations between Spain and different countries. So the clients Nexus had were principally countries that wanted to establish commercial relations with Spain. So we brought business delegations from countries around the world, such as Colombia, Mexico, Cabo Verde, Malaysia. And when they came to Spain, we organized business seminars and business forums for these countries, no? And we ensured that the right people went to these seminars, these business seminars, to these conferences, and that business relations were created.
When was that?
Well, that company started in 2006, and we worked with multitude of countries, and yeah, it was, and that is actually something that we still do. Nexus still organizes those kind of business seminars. We also help companies that want to establish commercial ties with Spain. So whenever there is a big commercial fair in different sectors, Nexus always provides different kind of services for these companies to ensure that they make the right connections in Spain. And that was a bit the seed of what is now World Football Summit. The problem that we had as a company at Nexus is that many times we worked with a country and we established or organized a business seminar for a country, for example, Colombia, but it wouldn't be an event which would be repeated year after year, no? So we were continuously looking for new clients, and our clients were often not repeat clients, no? So in 2011, actually, together with some friends, we developed an event which is now called the South Summit, which was a conference to bring together the main startups, and entrepreneurs in Spain.
Was that part of Nexus, or was it a different thing?
Yes, well, yeah, obviously Nexus was a co-organizer, of that event, but that event did not belong to Nexus. It was a different event, and the idea was for this event to become a company in itself, to establish in the entrepreneurship world in Spain a congress, a meeting point for the main startups and for the main entrepreneurs in Spain, to bring them together over 2 days in order to attract investors, both national and international. And actually the business model was very similar to other events that were already existing around the world, such as a Web Summit, or such as in Spain, for example, there's the Mobile World Congress,
Right.
So we set up that company, that event. I worked for the first year and for the first edition of that summit, but then once it was finished, the other partners with which I was working kind of carried on with the project on their own, and I moved out of the South Summit. But the South Summit was very much also the seed to what World Football Summit is. We, after South Summit, we looked at other industries where a big meeting point in Spain did not exist. And surprisingly, we found it in the football industry. And when we had the idea of World Football Summit, that was in 2015, in Spain, a meeting point for the key stakeholders of the sector did not exist. And with the two biggest clubs in the world. Exactly. Yeah, no, it was surprising. It was very surprising because, yeah, obviously the footballing heritage that there is in Spain is huge. You have, 2 or 3 of the biggest clubs in the world. La Liga at the time was also an organization that was growing very much. But yeah, you had other events in other countries like, you know them well, Soccer X or Leaders, Sports Pro. But in Spain, an event like that did not exist. So we had the idea, and more importantly, because then we found out later on that other people had the idea as well, we executed the idea. So we we had also a very good and very grandiose name, World Football Summit, which makes more sense now in our 5th edition than in our 1st edition. Our 1st edition was very local, and it was an entrepreneurial project. It was a great idea.
2017 or 19 or 18?
It was
Sorry?
2016.
16.
Yeah, so it was on our 1st edition took place on the 27th and 28th of October, 2016.
Do you remember how many people you had then and how many people you had in the latest one? How much did you grow?
Well, obviously in the 1st edition, we had to get known. So, we also invited a lot of people. So we actually had more than 1,000 attendees in the 1st edition. It was successful, but where I think you see the growth, our 1st edition, I'd say that maybe 10-15% of the attendees came from abroad. And now with World Football Summit, it's a completely international event. So 70% of the attendees come from outside of Spain. So it is a global Congress, and in that sense, we've grown very much. So obviously the quality of the attendees, the speakers, has been growing year on. Events, it's very much like it has a snowball effect. The first one is always the toughest one, and once you do the first one and it's successful, then you grow on that success, and you build on that success. Obviously, then there are pandemics that stop that growth, but that's a different chapter. I can talk to you a little bit later.
Yeah, very much. Sorry, I think there's delay there. I'm going to put you on mute. I think that's better. I will. I have another sort of many other questions here. Just before I get there, let me just give a shout out to some other people that are saying hello here. Some we can't really see the name, so. Max Grunewald actually left a message here on LinkedIn to us. Then Mohammed Reza, hello, in Iran. We have Caio Oliveira in Brazil. Gabriela, where is she? She's in Brazil as well. Hello, Gabriela. Jesus here in Rennes, France. You know this one, Tabo Styles. You participated in an event that he organized last week. I had the pleasure to collaborate with him as well. Congratulations, Tabo. Robert, how are you, Robert, in Zurich? Saying hello here as well. Hope things are going well for you, Robert, with the new venture in your life. So, Jan, I'm interested in knowing, did you just choose to work in football because you noticed that you suddenly realized there was an opportunity there was a gap? Like, were you investigating other areas? Did you have a plan? Okay, I think you can do an event and maybe see where the opportunity is? Or you were involved in football before, in sports? Is that something that you followed? How you actually jumped and started to organize one of the biggest events in soccer in the world?
No, as I said, I had no relationship with the football or sports industry at all. We did have a relationship with the entrepreneurial world, and we had created that event. So as I was saying, we were looking for other niches in other sectors. And actually the idea of World Football Summit came from an employee of ours, who's called, some of you might know him. He's called Marcos Pellegrin. He's now the general manager for La Liga in South Africa. And he came up with the idea of the football industry, and so we immediately, thought it was a great idea. But at the beginning, we thought it was such a good idea that it must already exist, So it was really surprising for us when we did some research and we saw that in Spain, something like what we were proposing did not exist. And what actually reassured us when we decided to go on with the idea was the fact that in other countries, a similar event existed. So obviously there was an industry, no, there was a sector and there was interest. So that kind of reassured us, and well, we decided to push with the idea. We pushed with the idea, but actually, you know, the first edition was extremely difficult to pull through.
What was the biggest challenge then?
Yeah, it was a very, very big challenge because, you know how the football the sports industry in general, it might seem like a huge industry, but it's not that big. Everybody kind of knows each other. So we were complete outsiders who didn't know anybody, who came up with this event called World Football Summit. But nobody knew what we were capable of doing. No, so I think that very few people at the beginning thought that we could pull through with the idea, and obviously financially for a small company like ours, it was difficult because
did you need to raise? Did you need to raise external investment for that?
Exactly. Organizing an event like ours is not cheap. It's an expensive event. And the event business is very particular in that most of the revenue that an event like ours generates is generated like the month or 2 months before the event. No, people don't. You try and organize, and you have to organize an event like ours with months and months in advance, but everything accelerates in the last weeks, in the last months. No, so 2 months before our first edition, we as entrepreneurs, we weren't sure whether we were going to do it or not. But as they say in Spain, nos tiramos a la piscina. We decided to jump in the pool, and luckily there was water. No? So on our first edition, we broke even as a company, as an event. The event was a success, and obviously it had nothing. Our first edition had nothing to do with our future editions, no, and with the edition that is going to take place in a couple of weeks at the Wanda Metropolitano. But it was a good first event, and that success, we managed to build on that success, and slowly World Football Summit, I think, has consolidated itself like one of the leading football industry events in the world, no, and now we have editions also in different regions, and we're growing a lot.
Cool. I was prepared to ask you about some of the highlights of the upcoming events. You know, what are the hot topics, and maybe give a good idea of what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time. But before I get that there, you mentioned something that is super interesting, I think, to me, and I think most people watching this now or later, which is the question that so many people have is they love. Unlike you, you didn't have any sort of maybe relation with football or before. There's a lot of people that grow in football, love football, would like to work in it or any other sport, but don't have those connections. And the question is, how do they enter that industry? And you did it in a very particular way, basically creating an event, which probably that is the hardest way to do it. Because you need to attract those people to your event. But do you have any advice to people that are starting now and wants to break into that industry in particular?
Yeah, I think obviously it's not easy to enter the sports industry in Europe, and in Europe maybe it's easier than in other regions like Asia or like Africa, and that is, I think, because the industry as a whole is still very much in its infancy. No, it's not a huge industry. No, it might seem huge, but it is not that big. If you, for example, think the club in the world which has the highest revenue, no, is probably Real Madrid, and well, now with the pandemic, obviously it's gone down, but a couple of years ago it reached, actually Barcelona, no, reached 1 billion, and it's the first club in the world who reached 1 billion in revenue. But 1 billion in revenue for any other big or mid-sized company in other sectors is not a huge revenue. No, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of companies in other sectors that have a much larger revenue than a huge club. No, in theory, like Football Club Barcelona. So I think that's important. No, that the industry is growing, but is not as big as other industries. No, so obviously there are less opportunities. And I think what the advice I always give to people who want to work in the sports industry is that they prepare themselves to work in a company, any company. Because clubs, leagues, federations, or event companies like ours, we are companies. So when we are recruiting, what we are looking for is great employees, people that are going to add value to our company, and you don't add value to a company like ours if you like football, and if you know all the football players that have played in the history of Real Madrid, so
well, not only in companies, even if you're working, want to work in a club, you don't
exactly.
add value just being a fan. Probably everybody there is a fan already.
Exactly, or they're not. Actually, I know many people who work at clubs and they don't like football, or once they enter the club, they decided they didn't like football anymore. It's a company, and companies in any sector in the world, I think, are looking for great people and people who are prepared and who are going to add value to them. So So for us, when somebody interviews for World Football Summit and they say that they love football, that is not, a something that adds value to me taking a decision on whether I recruit them or not. We are seeking great candidates, that are well prepared and that are good at sales, at content, that are intelligent, that are proactive, and I think that's the secret of working in the sports industry, or really in any other industry for that matter.
Yeah, great. There are already some questions coming in. That's great. Keep them coming. We're going to get to those. Just before we move to those next questions, Jan, maybe to wrap up the World Football Summit part now, maybe give us some highlights of the events. What is it that you're preparing that's people would really want to see? Maybe do you have a favorite topic, or what are the hot topics that are being discussed there? Maybe give us a better idea of what people will see there in 2 weeks' time.
Well, I always say, obviously, we have a lot of highlights, and you can see them on our website. Sometimes the highlights of the events, are the speakers that we manage to attract, and they are like, the big names that we attract and that we always promote, But this is very much like going window shopping, You see what's happening there, but then once you go into the shop, maybe you don't buy what's in the window shop, So because I think what's really interesting about attending World Football Summit, coming to World Football Summit, is not only listening or seeing a few speakers or attending a few topics, but being able in 2 days to meet people that otherwise might take you 12, 24 months to do. Our event is very much a networking event. It's an opportunity to strengthen existing relationships and build new relationships. But with that said, obviously, we have some great names this year. We obviously have Javier Tebas, who's La Liga is our global partner, and he always has a keynote presentation at our summit, which is very much looked forward to, because there's always some huge highlight, that he mentions during our summit. We have, obviously, our event this year is taking place at the Wanda Metropolitano. It's the first time we organize the event at a football stadium, so I think it's the perfect venue for a football event. So we couldn't be happier to do it there. And Miguel Ángel Gil, who's the majority share owner and the CEO of Atlético Madrid, will have also a one-on-one fireside chat that's going to be very interesting because obviously, as everybody knows, in the football industry this last year, so many things have happened, no? Including Super League. Miguel Angel Gil or Atletico Madrid was one of the 12 clubs who entered the Super League. It was one of the clubs that left after 3 or 4 days. And actually,
is that going to be discussed there, or is that to April 2001?
No. It is going to be discussed. So yeah, it's important. Yeah, and that's a good thing. No, he's openly going to discuss it, and that's good. No, and so it will be an exclusive at World Football Summit. No, and the first time that he speaks publicly.
Oh, that's cool. That is definitely a hot topic. What about some of the technology like NFTs, tokens? Is that
yes? We are gonna have different speakers about. We have Dapper Labs who are gonna participate. Socios.com with Alexander Dreyfus. He still hasn't confirmed that, but I'm pretty sure he will be attending and confirming. Then we have also some fantastic legends that are going to be participating, such as Samuel Eto'o. We're also going to have Fernando Hierro, and actually, some colleague of yours from your country, Joao, which I still cannot mention, is probably going to be there. But as I was saying before, with events, it's incredible how, I mean, we're only 2 weeks away, but in 2 weeks, so many things are going to happen, no? So, and then, our program is going to be very complete. We're going to have more than 100 different speakers over the 2 days. Of those 100 speakers, 95% are going to be on site. We are going to have a few speakers that are going to participate online. And actually, also, this is also going to be our first hybrid event. So anybody who cannot attend physically will also be able to attend online. So this is the first time, actually, that we're also selling e-pass tickets to participate. And anybody who has an e-pass ticket will also be able to network with, we're calculating more than 1,000 people from more than 70 different countries arriving in Madrid for the 22nd and 23rd of September. And then we're going to have over 1,000 online attendees as well. So it's going to be a very global event.
No, definitely a great one. I can not recommend enough. In fact, we have agreed that we're going to provide a code for anyone that is watching this now or delayed until the 12th of September. There is a link for you to register if you're watching on YouTube, or just go to the World Football Summit website, and you can include that promo code that is also in the description of the video on YouTube, and you have that 25% discount. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Listen, there's several questions here. So I'm actually going to, Jan, I try to give preference to people watching us. So I'm going to actually go to some questions that arrived. First one is from Taruka, who actually is also collaborating with us, and I cannot recommend her enough as well. She was the one who first came in as Playnox. So if you want to go and check out the Playnox, I think that's .com. So I recommend people go and look at it as well. She does super nice interviews and is helping us at I Work in Sport. So she says, well, inspiring journey. With no events, what challenges did WFS face? And, and you mentioned, your online initiatives. How are you going to keep that, or are they going just to be part of the live events or the in-person events now?
Yeah, no, we faced obviously. It was we faced quite a lot of difficulties, obviously, because of the pandemic. So we had many challenges. The first one was a financial challenge, because as an event company, most of the revenue comes from organizing events. So last year in 2020, when the pandemic started, we had 4 events lined up. We were going to celebrate our first edition of World Football Summit in Africa.
Just a few days before.
yeah, we canceled 5 days before the summit started. I was in Durban, and so was all of our team in South Africa. So we had to cancel that. We had another event in Istanbul called the Football Innovation Forum, our second edition of WFS Asia in Kuala Lumpur, and obviously what would have been our fifth edition in Madrid. No, so all of those events had to get canceled, and our revenues were strongly affected by that. So what we did, what many other event organizers did, we transitioned and we pivoted and we organized online events. And actually, looking at the glass half full, today the technology, and you know it very well, Joao, to organize online events is fantastic. So we quickly transitioned to organizing our first 100% online event, and our first took place during a whole week from the 6th to the 10th of July. And actually, on paper, I'd say it was our best event to date. We had the greatest quality of speakers. We had the biggest number of attendees. We had 3,500 attendees from 120 different countries. We organized 40 different panels, and it was a huge success. So actually, it also allowed World Football Summit, you know, not to disappear, and to do one of the things that we are proud of doing, which is generating great content and bringing together, you know, the people from the industry to share knowledge and to generate business opportunities. So our platform was very strong. It allowed, you know, people to obviously speak, to ask questions like they're doing now, to participate in polls, and to meet virtually. No? So we then did a second edition of this online event in November. We called it actually World Football Summit Live, and they were a great success. And World Football Summit, apart from organizing these events, also, you know, we decided to launch new programs as well that basically, you know, kept us very, very busy, you know, and tried, you know, to help and continue grow the platform and the World Football Summit community, you know? And actually, this pandemic has helped us in the sense that in 2 weeks' time, our event is going to be a hybrid event. No, it's going to be our first hybrid event. And I think from now on, all events are going to be hybrid. So we're going to incorporate everything that we learned organizing online events into a physical event. And that is basically going to allow us to grow, no, and reach more people. Because I think anybody who can actually attend in person our event in Madrid will prefer to come to Madrid, because obviously the networking opportunities, the feeling of meeting someone in person cannot be exchanged with an online event. But there are thousands, hundreds of people around the world that just cannot travel to our event, maybe even financially. So they will be able to access it online. And that is something that 2 years ago was not available and is available today. No? So I think in that sense, the event business has grown, and our product today is going to be better than the one it used to be before the pandemic.
Great. Thank you for that. Let me just give a shout out here to Fabio Figueiras. He is in Lisbon. Miriam Tofa in Zimbabwe. There are a few questions here from Abhishek Yain or Jane. So I'm gonna go with one. I don't know if you have an opinion sort of on all of those, but it seems like they're all topics that may be discussed at the World Football Summit. So also a shout out to Jonathan de Graaf, who's watching us on LinkedIn as well. Thank you, Jonathan, and Ryan in Italy. So let's start with this one. It's an opinion. I don't know if you do have an opinion about that, or if you want to talk about it, or if this is going to be discussed at the event. But Abhishek Yain asks, what do you think about Wenger's proposal of World Cup every 2 years?
Well, Well, there are many people from FIFA coming to our event, so I'm sure many people will ask them. I personally do have an opinion, and I think, if it is every 2 years, obviously nobody is going to be unhappy when you win the World Cup, no, even if it's every 2 years, but it's not going to be the same. The fact that the FIFA World Cup is every 4 years, a little bit like the Olympic Games, is what makes it so special, no? But obviously there are so many commercial interests around all of that obviously, I guess that is the main reason why FIFA wants to do it, no? And when it happens, I don't know, everybody might be happy with it, no? But for sure, I think the feeling of most fans is that it would lose a little bit that sense of huge achievement, no? That winning that one World Cup, which happens only every 4 years, has, no?
So you think that would become maybe half as special?
I'm not sure half, but a little bit less special, no?
Right. Just so we know, Abhishek is also in India. So we do have, especially today, a big audience in India. Let me go to a few others, and Abhishek, I will get to another, at least one of your questions here. So I was thinking is so many people are now looking for jobs again, and we talked about maybe how to approach a position there, but maybe can you be a bit more specific on what are the work opportunities at the moment? What are the skills that are more on demand? I don't know if you are maybe looking for talent at the moment, but do you have a feeling of what are the skills that are more on demand right now, and where people might actually look at and find more opportunities?
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, there are opportunities always at World Football Summit, because we're always seeking for great individuals who are going to add value to our company, and I think that is exactly the same in any other company within the football, and within the sports industry, as I was saying before, they are companies, and it's not easy to find great employees, and people who really add value to your company. So, for example, for World Football Summit, obviously we are a company and we survive by generating revenue. Our revenue, our events are financed through sponsorships, through the sale of different products at our summits, through the sale of our stands in our expo area, and obviously through ticketing. So obviously people that have got great commercial skills, that have very good people skills, are always very, very welcome in a company like ours. And then we are also seeking people who are very knowledgeable of the football industry, but not football as a sport, but football as an industry itself. So because World Football Summit, it's a congress that focuses really on the business of football. So people who know where the industry is heading, that they've got great knowledge and great interest, about what is happening in the sector, how the sector is growing, who are the key stakeholders of that sector, and that can help, contact those people, interview them, generate content, bring them to our summits. Those are key, key skills that an event company like ours is seeking for. So anybody who believes that has those kind of skills, we'd be extremely interested to receive their CV and obviously to talk with them.
Right. Thank you, Jan. Also following a few more comments coming here. Just so again, Ahmad is in Beirut. saying hello. Kabir has an icon there that seems that he's enjoying it. And before I go to the next one, of the many that Abhishek asked, another one that I can ask you well, I can ask you more, but at the moment is, what about maybe a salary cap idea? Probably you have that discussed in previous World Football Summits as well, no? Do you
I
have
think
any
I think it's
personal
very
opinion?
I think it's very important because football is a business, no, and it should be handled as a business. And many times football, and especially years ago, and especially in Spain, was not handled as a business, and it was not a good business to own a football club, for example. And most people who owned a football club years and years ago, they owned it because of PR, and other reasons. No, but now football is an industry, and it has to be controlled like any other sector in any other industry. So there has to be a regulation that makes it sustainable, and that allows the industry to grow as a whole. No, and so yes, I absolutely think it is very important. No, and I think, well, for example, the US, who has the biggest sports industry in the world, no, they manage it very well, and yeah, and obviously La Liga has done a great job, and yeah, I think that's the way forward, no, for the industry as a whole.
Great. Yeah, I agree. They need to look at something. You cannot have 100% of your revenues dedicated to payroll, as some clubs do.
Okay.
So, in a way, you also provide opportunities for people looking for a job in sport. So we do have a lot in common there. I work in sport and World Football Summit. We do it in a very different way, but I think very complementary, as we were discussing beforehand. Tell us more about that. So if people maybe are looking for a job, what is the exact service that you provide? Is that tied to academic programs? You want to talk a little bit about the sort of opportunities that you provide?
Yeah, well, actually, during the pandemic, as I was saying a little bit before, I mean, we had some time to rethink. No, before, we were organizing one event after the other. The pandemic kind of stopped us, and kind of we looked around everything we had, and one of the things that we saw that we obviously had was a great database of key players and great relationships with the key players of the football and sports industry. From around the globe, no, and we also know, obviously, because many of our clients are universities with sports management programs, and they often come to World Football Summit, and their students want to come to World Football Summit to make contacts. So we thought, we had the right ingredients also to put those two people in contact with each other. No, the students, the people who want to work in the sports industry, and the key players of the industry. No, so we created a project called World Football Summit Talent, and there we actually work hand in hand with sports management programs, no, and universities, to help their students get jobs within the sports industry. So our client is mainly the university, and they contract us so that when their students finish their studies, we can help them, set up interviews with potential employers. No, and it's worked actually very, very well with us. No, and it really has helped us also, consolidate also many of the relationships that we have, not only with those universities, but also with those companies that are seeking for talent.
Great. Yeah, we have some of the same partners in the academic, sphere. That's great. In fact, I would like to ask you, from where you're sitting, then how valuable is formal education for someone that is seeking a career in sport?
Well, obviously, yeah, no, I think it's very important. It's very important to be prepared, and obviously a good and a good school, well, a good sports management program is going to give you that preparation and that knowledge around the industry. And obviously, an employer is always going to look with good eyes somebody who has invested not only its money but also its time in developing himself, in knowledge around a particular industry. So that is obviously very it's looked very positively, by an employer. But also, I think what is very important is that when you study those sports management programs, you also prepare yourself very well for those interviews. So make a lot of research on the company you're applying to, and make sure that when you are at the interview, you are selling what you can do for the company rather than what the company can do for you. And that's and I think that's very important, and very few people do so.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely one of the most frequent advice that I normally give. I mean, this it's a good opportunity as any, just to remind people again, since we're talking about education and the importance of that, to remind people that we're going to have a digital event. You participated in our one of our online job fairs, so looking for talents there. We have a very similar platform that instead of having the recruiters, we actually have the programs there. So they will be meeting people that are interested in maybe having doing the course. They might be looking for a scholarship, something like that. So I do recommend that people go to iworkinsport.com and check out the Education Virtual Expo. Oh, here it is, there. Yeah, so it's going to be on the 27th of October, day one, mostly focused to the Asian market. And also, I mean, both days will be good for a European audience or in Africa, in our time zone. And then the second day, on the 3rd of November, more focused on the Americas because of the times. So yeah, if I may also recommend that people check that out, that would be, I hope that will be useful to anyone watching it. We're going to have a few more questions. Jan, there's people commenting here. Let me, so Abhishek is participating a lot, saying that he's looking forward to exploring opportunities through World Football Summits. You should do that, definitely. Tanarit, not going to try to say your last name, sorry, from Thailand. Great to see you here. Thank you for being here. There was a question here from, Tabo. He was asking how Nexus helps startups. So what does one need to do if they need Nexus assistance?
Well, we at Nexus, we help companies, not only startups, but all sorts of companies, introduce themselves to the Spanish market, principally. We do it by organizing those business seminars, but we also help them, by introducing them in the different trade fairs that exist in Spain, all over the country, in different sectors, and contacting, the right potential clients for their business. So if you're a tech company and your potential clients are other tech companies, in Spain, if we'd send you a list of who those companies are, and we do that potential matchmaking. So it's very much a B2B service that we do for all sorts of companies and for all sorts of sectors. So because Nexus develops relationships with many industries, not only the sports industry. And World Football Summit is a completely separate entity, which is now trying to build, the strongest possible platform worldwide for the football and sports industry.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So Caio Oliveira mentioned there, I put on the screen that this is a great interview. Congratulations. Thank you, Caio. All thanks to Jan. I'm just trying not to disturb much, all the questions coming in. There is here, Rian says that he's already enrolled in a sports management program at the University of Ljubljana. So I hope World Football Summits will help me find the right opportunities. I think that you need to get the university to contact World Football Summits. I don't know if they're already your clients or your partners.
Yeah, they are not, but they could be. Yeah, but
Rian, so tell them to go to worldfootballsummit.com and connect with them. And maybe tell them to participate in the I Work in Sports job fair as well. So you and your colleagues can also meet some recruiters there.
Absolutely.
But yes, there was another one here from, I think it was Kabir. Right. You touched on that a little, but Kabir is asking if hybrid events is the future. Is there any other way? Or
I think it's definitely the future, and I think it's the future because it's a better product than the one we had when hybrid events did not exist. The technology now exists for you to be able to experience an event online.
I would say it's the present.
Yeah, exactly. It's the present, and although we are organizing our first hybrid event in 2 weeks, so it is the future for us because it's going to be our first one. No, we still haven't done it. In 2 weeks' time, once it's finished, then I'm sure it will be the present because, as I was saying before, also I don't think they compete. The public who attends online does not compete with the public that attends on site because I think if you are available to travel, to come on site, to meet people in person, I think you're always going to do it. But there's a huge amount of people that cannot and that now will have the possibility to access an event online, and that will enhance the experience of event organizers, and it will allow us to reach more people. And that's always good because also all of our partners, our speakers, what they want to do when they participate in an event like ours is to share their message to as many people as possible, and hybrid events are going to enable us to grow those numbers.
Great, Jan. This has been wonderful. We're just like 1 minute short of the 1 hour mark. So just want to say hi as well to Beach Soccer Nigeria, saying hi. So as I mentioned to you before, we're all over the place. That's great to see people from all continents literally participating with us. Yeah, before we go, I normally ask my guests to recommend a book and or a YouTube channel or a podcast that you think that people that are watching will benefit from it. Doesn't have to be a sports book, but or even a podcast. Anything that you would like to recommend?
Yes. Well, for example, I'm a great fan of Copa 90, which is a very big YouTube channel. With if you're passionate about football, it's an incredible story of a company that creates great content around football. But without actually showing football matches. They create great content around everything that happens around a football match. And they've created a huge following around the world, and they're very good. And in terms, obviously, for example, of podcasts, I'm always obviously interested in what is happening in the football industry, and you have a podcast by Richard Gillis, which is extremely interested, and
the unofficial.
Yeah,
partner.
exactly. And he interviews, you know, some of the top industry experts in the sports industry, and it's very good. We actually also had him as a moderator of a panel in our last online summit in November. And yeah, for anybody, you know, who wants to know what is happening within the industry, I mean, well, there's a great catalog of interviews that he's been doing across the past years. And weekly there are new interviews that are very interesting, no, and give you a very clear vision of what is happening, no, and he's obviously a very good interviewer, no? Which is very important, no, for a podcast.
Oh, our friend Amir Somoji as well, an expert. Actually, Amir, you need to come and participate here as an interviewee as well. You have,
Exactly.
you know, a sports
Hello,
value. Do you know Amir?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Otherwise, I was going to tell you that you should, because
No, I do. And
he's one of
well,
the biggest experts in football in Brazil.
We are going to work together also, because World Football Summit, we were going to organize this year our first Congress in the Americas continent. It was meant to be for end of October, and actually 1 week ago we decided to postpone it, and it's going to take place on the 16th and 17th of March. So that is going to be our first event in the American continent, and I was speaking with Amir, who's obviously an expert in that region, and we're definitely going to collaborate in that event.
Good to know. So you're talking to the right person.
Yes.
That's great. So let me thank you, Jan, and thank everybody that is watching us all over the world. And really I'm looking forward to see you, Jan, in person, hopefully in 2 weeks' time. And everybody else, let's keep connected, and I'll see you next week.
Joao, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. Hope it's not been too long and not too boring. And feel free, everybody, to contact me also over LinkedIn, and happy to help in any way I can. Yeah, and don't forget there's a promotional code for the World Football Summit in the description of the video. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week. Bye, Jan.